All right, I have a special one in for review today. This is the Berny watch from the Berny company, watch company. And they're an AliExpress brand, but you could also find them on Amazon. I'm going to have some links included in the description, so you'll definitely want to check that out. I saw this watch and I'm like, this watch is 1/6, 1/7 of the real deal, the Mondaine. And I wanted to see how close the Berny got to the Mondaine. And you'll definitely want to stick to the end because you'll be surprised by the results that we have here today. So let's just dive right in. And as you'll see, the Berny has a little bit of a yellowish hue to the dial. Now they do offer a plain white dial as well, but the reason for this yellowish hue is because, yes, it is a fully loomed dial. The Mondaine has no loom whatsoever on this particular model. Now Mondaine does offer some loom on some of the other models, and they do have like loom that goes on the back of the handset, which is pretty neat. But typically they don't have any loom on the dial for most of their models. We take a closer look again at the two watches and you'll see that they do have very similar design cues, including that red lollipop second hand as you see here. Now the one on the Berny is done a little bit differently than the one on the Mondaine, but as you can see, very similar. Mondaine does have them applied. They're very thin, whereas the Berny, they're also very thin and applied. And then there's printing in between the markers, just like here. Yeah, same thing. Very similar watches though, guys. The Berny you're going to get for sale and are typically under $100. This one here you're going to pick up for $600 to $700. Now, what is the difference? Powering the movements, definitely a big difference. For the Berny, you're getting a Miyota automatic movement. Nothing very fancy about it, but it's going to get the job done, right? And what I'll do is I'll put the Berny on the time graph just to show you how it's performing. And then what I want to do is I want to pit it up against the Mondaine because this one has the SW200 movement, Swiss made. A little bit of a nicer looking movement. And we'll put this one on the time graph and show you how this one's performing. Now, a big chunk of change that you're paying for with a Mondaine is the fact that this has the heritage, this has the history. This is the Swiss railways, right? When you go to a Swiss train station, you're going to see these clocks all over the place. This is a very well-known design, almost as well known, at least in Switzerland, as the Movado design. So this is the real deal. This is the original design that has historical significance. Whereas Berny is simply just copying that, and you're not getting any type of horology. You're simply getting a carbon copy homage. And if you're okay with that, then you're going to have tons of savings with this watch. Now, you're getting a sapphire sandwich with this one, by the way. You're getting sapphire on the front, and you're getting sapphire on the back. Mondaine will give you sapphire on the front, mineral crystal on the back. Not a big deal, right? But definitely some cost savings. Whereas Berny could have done the cost savings, but didn't, and is a more affordable price. Now, they don't have a signed crown, okay? Whereas the Mondaine does. They actually have they put a little bit more detail into the crown. This crown is more grippy with the coin edge, whereas this one has more of that gear pattern, and it's actually not the greatest crown. It's really hard to turn because it's slippery. This one here, much easier. A little bit smaller, but definitely a lot grippier because of that coin edging. This case is completely polished, and it's got that bowl-like case to it, right? It's really, it just looks like a bowl. There's not a lot of dimension to it. It's completely polished on the lugs, and not a lot of detail there, right? Whereas the Berny has a more traditional case, and there's a lot of brushing going on, which is actually pretty good. Even on the back, you've got that radial brushing there. You got brushing on the case back. And they just have some really nice sharp angles and just a little bit more of an attractive case, in my opinion. Just when you look at I like to see brushing. I like to see contrast. You know, this is definitely an interesting case, and a case that I don't have in my collection, so I do appreciate that. But I have to admit, I do like brushing. So now there is really essentially no bezel here, whereas this one here definitely has that, again, that brushed bezel here. So again, a little bit of a difference there. Now, my Mondaine did come with the leather strap, and it does have Mondaine on the buckle. It is a very nice soft leather, genuine leather. It does come with that quick change system. I have paired it with the Vario strap as well. Unfortunately, the stitching kind of came out a little bit there, but I still like it. And the stitching doesn't bother me because when I set it, you don't see it. But very nice strap here. This one is like a silicone strap. But it doesn't capture, I mean, it does capture a little bit, but not too much in regards to dirt and dust. This one actually has been very good, and it looks great up against this watch here. So I've actually had it more on this one than I had even on the stock strap. Now the Berny comes with this shark mesh here, which is very nice, and they do actually have their name on the safety clasp. And this is actually a really nice strap, and they do have a quick change system. So again, no cost savings here with these watches. So if you guys had the choice, which one would you choose? Now, for a lot of hobbyists, collectors, they're going to go for the Mondaine all day long because of the horological significance. I know I said that many times during this video, but that's very important because you have the real deal here. There's no other watch company that is represented on the Swiss railways. There's probably not a more distinguishable face. The Berny is simply just copying a good thing at a much more affordable price. Kind of goes with the whole Pagani design debate that a lot of us collectors like to have. If you're okay with a Homage and you like the look of a watch but you don't want to pay the exorbitant price, then you go for the Homage. Now granted, this is one of the more expensive versions of a Mondaine that you can get. I actually bought my wife a Mondaine for $50. No, actually, I'm sorry, it was around, yeah, I think it was about $50 actually. Obviously smaller in size, but it was a Mondaine and it was a quartz watch, but it was the real deal. You can buy quartz versions of these watches all day long for a couple $100 if you really want to save on price. But if you want that true automatic, then you're going to be paying a little bit more money for these. You're going to be paying closer to the $400 or $500 mark. Unless you get these used on eBay. So that's my 2 cents, guys. I'd like to hear your opinions down below. What do you guys think of the Berny versus the Mondaine? Which one came on top? Specs on the Berny. We're looking at a 40.0 Mondaine 39.75. Case thickness, the Berny is definitely thicker. 11.76 versus 10.25. Lug to lug on the Mondaine is a 45.16, definitely more wearable compared to the 47.18 millimeters. 22 millimeter lug width versus a 20 millimeter lug width. So I'll show each of these on the wrist so that you guys can see. I do have this one on the Shark Mesh H bracelet from Strapsco. So there you go there. And I will show you the Berny. This is more of a, I guess, this is more of a mesh bracelet, not more of a shark mesh, but this is definitely not a shark mesh. This is more of just a mesh bracelet, more of a flat mesh, I guess. I don't know exactly what you'll call it, but it's a mesh bracelet, not the same as the one I just showed you. And this has the safety clasp, and again, on the 7-inch wrist, fits pretty nicely. So, all right. So, what do you guys think? I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts down below. Would you pick the Berny? Would you pick the Mondaine? Was there any surprises here? Did you find that the Berny was more impressive than you thought? Because I have to admit that I was definitely pretty surprised by a few of these things here. So, love to hear your thoughts down below. That's my 2 cents. You can keep the change. And I'll see you guys next time on Average Joe Watch Reviews. God bless, my friends.